Hey, everybody. So I am going to keep it short. This week we have a lot of news coming out. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll start talking about some of the stuff that's coming out tomorrow. So um, really important is going to be consumer price index news. It's coming out at 8:30 in the morning. That news is going to help determine where our interest rates go. So based on the last Fed meeting, which I didn't cover with you guys, but um, if you go back and review the last the last set of Fed minutes that came out, you'll see where our Fed was just kind of numb. They were really numb about a lot of things going on in the world. But for those of you who follow the markets around the world, you know that our Fed is between a rock and a hard place, literally, because while they have to keep our economy going and they're trying to drive our economy with interest rates and trying to keep inflation in a tight range, they also have to be concerned about the other world markets because you have to remember our markets are intertwined with markets all over the world. So um, while they're numb and while they can be numb, um, these consumer price index numbers are going to be looking at our economy, showing us where our prices are right now and where they are going to be going, because it's going to be showing us a trend essentially. Our Fed has said that by 2023 that they were going to plan to change interest rates. Then I don't think that's the case. If you look at the world markets, global markets as they're called, and you look at where they're trending and you look at where our markets are trending, that trend can't go on but for so long before it really starts to cause damage to the global market. So I don't think that our Fed is going to wait until 2023 to change those rates. Based on the last set of minutes, we could possibly, depending on where inflation goes, we could get that rate change by the end of the year or sometime in 2022, like in the first half of the year, because inflation is super high. To tell you how high inflation is, based on lumber alone, a new house would cost you like $40,000 more just off of the lumber alone. That's not anything else. So those consumer price index numbers are going to be super important, and it is going to show commodities and stuff like lumber that I just mentioned. We have New Zealand news coming out tomorrow. I don't expect the New Zealand government is going to change their interest rates. However, I know that they tend to trend in the same direction as the United States. So I expect that they will start having the conversation about changing their interest rates in the near future as opposed to something long term. So Wednesday and Thursday, we have a lot of news coming out. We have a lot of major news. I would treat this week as an NFP week, um, in the sense that I would be careful with trading on Wednesday, definitely Thursday, just solely because we have so much stuff coming out. We have producer price index news coming out. We have rate news for the Canadian government coming out, crude oil inventories. That news is coming out around the same time. And whatever news comes out for Canada for their rate is going to affect crude oil inventories because they are one of the largest exporters of crude oil. Actually, they're the third largest exporter, but it's their first major export in their economy. So it's going to be super important for them. Also, we have a press conference from the Canadian government. So our news is going to be intertwined with Canada's news for like the first part of the morning. And then we have Jerome Powell is going to be speaking in front of the House Services Committee, one of the finance committees. So that's going to be really important. That's going to literally drive the news, drive the markets for the rest of the day, because that's him testifying. He's answering questions about the economy, inflation, jobs, COVID, where do we go from here? You know, all of those things. And then he gets the question and answer session where members of the House get a chance to ask him questions. And pay attention to the questions that he does not answer or that he defers to at a later time, because those are going to be the things that drive the market. Because why couldn't you answer the question right now is what is going to be going through the minds of some people. Then we get a version of Australia's NFP, and that will be coming out at 9:30 on Wednesday night. And I expect that Australia is going to be pretty steady. They've been trending in the right direction when it comes to their jobs. So we'll continue to pay attention to that. And while it's not a particular currency that we trade, it's definitely an economy that we look at, looking at the Chinese news that's coming out, because there's been a lot of news that has come out recently about changes that are happening, not only in China that are going to affect the United States, but in the United States that's going to affect China. The biggest being that they are going to start delisting Chinese companies that are listed here in the United States on the stock exchange. So companies like Alibaba, JD.com, Tencent, companies like that that are listed here in the United States, they're going to either have to delist or have to do full disclosures of all of their financials. And we know how the Chinese are about disclosing their financials. So it might just be that they choose to delist. And then the US has been putting pressure on Chinese companies as well as the Chinese government. So because we import a lot of Chinese goods, we have a lot of corporations that have headquarters either onshore or offshore in China. It's going to be really important that we continue to keep an eye on their economy. They have publicly stated and have shown that they are, I don't want to say light years, but they're ahead of us when it comes to the things that our government is just still trying to work the kinks out on, like a digital currency, and how to move forward with space travel, and how to move forward with, water, getting things situated for the citizens. It's just a lot of things right now that's going on in China, Russia, and Korea, that's making the US look bad. And we can talk about all that stuff at another time. I just want to get through the calendar right now. So on Thursday, again, we have a lot of news coming out, and it's going to be a lot of important news. We have the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index coming out. We have unemployment claims. Unemployment claims, again, is going to be one of those numbers that drives what the government, what our Fed, what our Treasury, what President Biden decides to do next when it comes to our economy. We have to continue to see unemployment claims drop, and we have to continue to see people getting back into the workforce without a bribe, because that's hurting our economy. It's a capitalistic economy. I don't care how much money people want or think they should earn. Our economy is a capitalistic economy. We are not a socialist economy. So our economy is not based on taking money from the rich and giving it to other classes of people. Our economy is strictly based on making money wherever. So keep that in mind whenever we look at unemployment claims, because people are going to bring that up. People are going to bring up minimum wage as well. So prepare for that discussion on Wednesday, because we'll talk more about it then. Industrial production, that is going to be what is at the core of construction, building materials, housing materials, but then just raw materials, period. So we'll look at commodities also on Wednesday, so that we can, have a further discussion about what all of that means. Jerome Powell will be testifying in front of the Senate on Thursday. So he always testifies 2 days back to back, one day for the House, one day for the Senate. And when he testifies in front of the Senate Banking Committee, they are going to be asking him some of the same questions, but you just have to keep in mind that a lot of these representatives are going to be asking questions that their citizens want the answers to. How do these representatives get these questions? Well, that's where the town hall meetings come from. We've talked about this before, but town hall meetings that representatives have, that local mayors, governors have, those questions get filtered to the liaison or to the representative for that district. And then that person who represents the district in Congress actually goes and asks these questions. So that's why town hall meetings are so important. They're not just there for, the board and the commissioners and stuff to sit on and talk about business. They're for people to actually go and let their voices truly be heard. Like, you might have gone to a town hall. You might hear your question asked on Wednesday or Thursday. New Zealand Consumer Price Index news. If you trade NU, New Zealand US dollar, you can compare. You can actually use this news that comes out on Thursday to trade NU, because we have Consumer Price Index coming out on Tuesday, tomorrow for us, Thursday for New Zealand, and then that's your actual literal comparison. Because think about it, Forex is you comparing two currency pairs to one another, comparing the economies to one another. So what better way to do that with two similar items in news and comparing them? So if you want to trade it like that, you can, because again, that's the setup for how news is coming out this week. For Japan, we have an outlook report. This outlook report is going to be important because, as I've mentioned before, the Bank of Japan is kind of teetering on the borderline of remaining or keeping its safe haven status. So depending on what they say, depending on how many treasuries they decide to continue to hold, and also contingent on their stance of digital currency and their own digital currency system, that will also determine where the Japanese yen goes from here. All right. And also remember that Japanese news is tentative to about an hour or two before it actually comes out. And then they'll post a time, but we won't actually get a time for it until sometime on Thursday. And Friday, we have retail sales. Retail sales are going to be important, as well as consumer sentiment, because we want to know what people are thinking and how and where people are spending their money. Are people still spending their money like they used to? Also, comparing numbers that the Fed will have. They will actually be able to speak more, not this week, but next week after these retail numbers come out, to the fact of whether or not people have cashed out investments and are using that money towards bills, whether they're spending that money, trying to figure out where money is going. Because there again, going back to the whole point I was making earlier about the CPI and news that comes out, and how the Fed uses it. The Fed and the Treasury and the president, because he has advisors that sit on these committees and on these boards, they use this information to determine whether or not people are suffering, whether people are okay, whether more stimulus checks needs to go out. Remember, there was that possibility of a fourth stimulus check going out this fall. Now, depending on how people are spending their money, it might not. Everybody thought that it was going to be a good idea to jump into investing. There's nothing wrong with investing, but if you were expecting a fourth stimulus check and you wanted to invest all your other 3 stimulus checks, they see that. And so that gets noted. And so now, instead of it being a sure thing, now it's like, oh, well, let's wait and see. So the Fed definitely pays attention now that we're in more of a digital age where you can use your phone or your card, Cash App, whatever, to pay for things. They see all your transactions in real time. It's not like paying for cash where they don't know. So they're able to track everything. They can literally go and see what you bought if they have to, or if they wanted to. So retail sales actually do that. They just break it down and tell you discretionary goods, raw materials like poultry, it'll tell you in a general sense, but literally they're telling you that, hey, you see what you buy. But they don't actually tell you in the way that I just told you. But essentially, yeah, whenever you get your receipt, they get a copy too. And they put it all into different categories and they can see what people do with their money. All right, so I told you guys what we were going to talk about on Wednesday. I've covered the Forex Factory calendar. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Level so that he can get started with the technicals.
Cool deal, cool deal. Good job. Great information. Thank you for doing that, going over that for us, Corman. KMentals in the place to be. This two starting to give me problems, y'all. It ain't been hurting all day. I done did good. I might have to pop one of these old hydro. Let's jump into it. All right, looking at the dollar, we see that the dollar has been pushing up aggressively due to inflation that Corman was just talking about. We see when price got back up to this level of imbalance that I had marked, we see the dollar reacted to that level almost perfect and came back down. Oh, okay. Let me see. That's that pain, y'all. My bad. All right. So starting looking at the dollar, we see that the dollar has been bullish off of this level down here that we had marked at 0.89. We see that the dollar pushed up to come and take out this liquidity pool here and come and retest this level of imbalance that I had marked. We see when price got to that level, price reacted to that level and started to sell back down to previous structure. And now price appears to want to continue to push down. And so I want to see if price can break below this low here. And if we can get below that low, then I would expect price to keep on pushing down to retest this structure here around 0.91.7 cent. And so with that being said, let's look at our currency pairs. We see that last week we did get the down move because we did get that up move out of the dollar. And now we see that Euro USD appears to be giving us some bullish momentum. So if the dollar does continue to be bearish to start the week out with, we will expect to see Euro USD start the week out bullish to come up and fill in. Well, first retest this previous high right here, and possibly this these levels right here, and we could see Euro USD. If we get a good drop out of the dollar, we could see Euro USD go long. Just to this previous high right here, that's like 125 pips. You get up in there, that's like 170. And if we come all the way back up in there, that's like 250. So we'll see how time and price play out when London open. Same thing for GBP USD. You see that we got the bearish move last week, and now we see the bullish momentum. And same thing, I'll be expecting to see GBP USD come back up to retest these levels here, and then see how price reacts to those levels. Looking at NZD USD, same thing. We want to see it continue to push up to start the week out with, to come back up here and retest this previous high, and and potentially these levels right here. So let's see how that play out. Time and price. Looking at silver. You see that we got that down move last week, and now we see price appearing to wanting to push to the upside. So that's what I want to see out of silver to start the week. I would like to see silver continue to push up and come back up here and fill in this imbalance that we have here. Looking at gold, same thing. Got the down move, respect of the level, and push back up. Let's see if gold continue to push up and retest this level here and fill in some of this imbalance. So we get half of that imbalance filled in right there. And see how time and price play out with that. Take a quick glance at all. Yep. See, we got the sell off of the structure. Perfect sell. Came down, back up, double top. Let's see how price react when they get back to this structure. If it gives us a aggressive candle through that structure, then we'll wait for the retest, and we expect to see all keep pushing to the upside. Looking at U30. Let's see, we got the bearish move out of U30 last week. Price came back up to this level here, came back down and retested previous level beautifully, and kept pushing to the upside to come back and take out this previous high. Retest this blue structure, gave us a correction off of that blue structure right there, that pullback, and then continued to push up, broke through the structure, and appears to still be giving us bullish momentum. We'll see how time and price play out when the market open for London, and look to execute our trades for the New York opening. So with that being said, I'll stop the recording and take any